Pitney, welcome. Thank you so much for taking time to do this. And we've got a lot to talk about this morning. And I know you've got a new baby and a new album and a busy schedule. So I'll just get right on down to it. First thing I wanted to ask you about is, of course, the new album. It's been 4 years since the last one, and fans have just been chomping at the bit to hear what you were going to come up with. So talk a little bit about you and producer, Jim Moose Brown, and what your goal was in crafting this new album. Ain't looking back.
So long to tackle perfect producer, that would kind of let me reach for my open-minded ideas. And Jim Moose Brown turned out to be the perfect guy to ask. The first project probably reflected most of my traditional influences, but I definitely feel like I've had more influences whether it's bluegrass or certain types of jazz music or James Taylor, Carole King. There's so many different influences that I have loved ever since I was a kid. Irish music is one. And I was wanting to make an album that was, as far as musically goes, was just an open-minded place with a producer where I could just find a melting pot of every one of my influences, without really having any rules or any guidelines, other than if the sound or the guitar part or the melody or the tempo feels right to me, that's going to be our one guiding light. So you can obviously hear the country influence. You're going to hear some different influences throughout the project. And then lyrically, the album is it's kind of a storyline in a way where, you hear the beginning of my life and falling in love with music at a young age. And then this young kid taking off and finding love with the second song right now with you, and everything going well. And then it moves into songs about losing the girl, and a song, Ain't Looking Back, is a song about hitting rock bottom and needing to be able to find a new beginning and a fresh start. And he turns around in the middle of the album and looks to a brighter future. And then the album ends with a gospel song, which maybe shines light on how he found his great turnaround and why he's not looking back.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about the single, Ain't Bad for a Good Old Boy, because you said that, there's so many great things on this album. To me, it would have been hard to pick a single. But you said you felt like this one was kind of appropriate for the COVID times because it celebrates family.
Yeah, it celebrates family and home life. And since we're locked up in our homes more times than normal in this season, it felt like on our end, and then some radio personalities felt like it was the best pick of the album. Obviously, it's my life to a T. You just got to see my house here a second ago, and we're just living a simple here up on the hill, especially the girl that I love, my wife, Emily, whose name is in the song. So, I get to travel the country, hopefully sometime soon, and sing my life to people. And then hopefully people in some way, shape, or form find their life or their dreams in that song too.
Cool. And I wanted to ask you about the gospel song that closes the album, Jonas. I know that's a real, number one, it's very powerful, just such a great song. And I know that's real personal to you. Can you talk a little bit about the first time you heard it, Dean Dillon do it, and then why when you ended up recording it and what it means to you?
Yeah, it's really interesting. The whole story of that song and me coming in contact with it. I'll probably tell you a little bit of my story. I grew up in a Christian home, but I don't believe that I in any way understood the seriousness of God and the seriousness of his love until later on in life, in my 20s. Kind of before I had a really, God really started knocking on my door and got my attention. I actually heard this song in Canada at a bonfire, and I believe the song was about 90% finished. Dean Dillon didn't have it completely finished. He was writing it with Tom Douglas. And when I heard it then, it really stung in a good way. But it just, there's something so revealing about the song, and it kind of paints the picture of the seriousness of Jesus's crucifixion. And so even prior to my life taking him very seriously, the song caused me, as I listened to it, to take him seriously. And it was probably a year later, after that, that I believe that God, transformed my life and really got my attention. And so moving forward, anything that had to do with Christ and truth really grabbed my attention, obviously, because that became extremely important to me. And so moving into recording this record, I had written a lot of gospel songs that I had planned to share. But the day I went in to plan what songs I was going to put on this album, Moose said, "Mo, you have to hear something." He said, "Dean Dillon just came in and demoed a song called Jonas, and Moose played it for me. And having a new heart to listen to it, the song undid me, and doubly. It just absolutely pierced me to my soul when I heard it, and knew that I wanted to put it on the project for two reasons. I wanted people that were in the state that I was in the first time I heard it, at the bonfire, to feel that sting of the seriousness of what Christ has done for the world, and then also just cause the encouragement that I felt on the backside of it. If anyone honestly looks at history, they cannot deny that Jesus was seen by thousands of people after his crucifixion, which means he got up out of that grave, which we should probably take his word seriously if he did. And I think that's mainly what the song is proposing, is that if his heart started beating again, we should probably go back over all that he said.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree. It's a great song, and you do such a wonderful job with it.
Thank you.
I want you to talk to our viewers a little bit about, at the outset, you were showing us your home, and I understand that that's, a lot of work went into that, and you and your wife Emily designed it to be the kind of family house you wanted. So talk a little bit, and it's a barn dominium style, am I right?
Yep, that's correct. So we hired actually an Amish family that turned out to be just amazing builders and have become friends of ours, to put up a pole barn and help me build the porch. So everything external on this home, they helped me build and did most of the work and thought work into that. And then my wife and I, and then some friends and family at different times, we went on the inside of the house and built the house on the inside of the barn. So it is literally just a 30 by 50 barn that has dormers on the front of the roof to let some good light in. It has a wraparound porch almost around the whole house. And the house, I told Emily, I said I wanted it to be fun for our 20s and 30s, and doable for our 80s, if this is where we want to just stay our whole life and put our roots down. So the barn dominium allows there to be one level. The porch is the same level. There's no steps getting in. It's a concrete floor on the inside, so we can drag in either our guitars and our suitcases as we're coming in and out of town, or we got gardens here. We can drag in a bunch of vegetables and they can drip on the floor, and we can throw them in the sink, and you can just mop everything else up afterwards, and we're not concerned about that. We just wanted to create a place where we could really live out of and not be afraid to harm it. And that's kind of my thought process with everything. I drive an old beat up truck so I can use it, and I want this house to be nice and comfortable, but livable. And that's what we've created here, and are very thankful for that.
And of course, you and Emily share that beautiful new home with those two precious girls. I know that you got a new baby, and then you've got her
Yeah.
baby. So talk a little bit about those girls.
Yeah, so we have a almost a 2-month-old little tiny baby that has turned out to be the sweetest baby in the world. She is a lot quieter than our first baby. She's very gentle spirited and is happy 90% of the time, which is such a blessing. Especially when Emily was healing up from the pregnancy, she really appreciated that. But we have a 3.5-year-old, and the day that I brought home the baby, I brought the baby into Evie's room, and Evie told the little one to never be afraid because God was always going to be with her, and that she would always be her big sister, and no one would ever take her away. And that's pretty much the story of my 3.5-year-old being a great big sister ever since we brought the baby home.
That's wonderful, Mo, because you and I've talked about this before. A lot of siblings, are resentful of a new baby. And the fact that Evie just accepted Audra and just, oh, that is precious, They're just, she's a sweet little
Well,
girl,
it means the world to a dad. Yeah, it means the world to a dad to see that, because you don't know how they're going to interact and what's going to happen. I tell people ever since we brought the baby home, just this morning, Evie climbed in bed and was looking over at the little baby, and she looked at me and she literally had tears on her face, and she says, "Dad, look, I got happy tears because I love my sister so much." That was just this morning, and I mean, it's just incredibly sweet to see her love on her that way.
that is just beautiful. Oh my goodness. Well,
Mhm.
one of the things I want to talk to you about this morning too is your appearance on the country music cruise. Now, so do you and I
Yeah.
don't know this. Do you have a history with cruising, or is this your first time on a ship? Or talk a little bit about the
Oh,
cruise
so I
coming up.
so I have done country family reunion cruises. Those are the only ones that I've done, but this is the first time I'll be on this cruise. So I'm excited to see how things go on this cruise, to see what's different about it. And you're probably, through the COVID craze, I feel like my mind has been emptied of all of my knowledge of all of my shows and what I'm doing. So you'll probably know more about where we're going and what we're doing and who will be there. But I'm incredibly excited about being on the cruise and playing country music in front of people that love country music, because it's always been a getaway for me and my family when we've had the opportunity to jump on a ship and kind of unplug and play music. So
Well, what are your favorite things to do on a cruise? Obviously, making music and having a great time with the fans. But like, what like, are you a big fan of getting off and exploring the ports, or do you like to hang out? One of the things,
yeah,
Mo, that you're going to love about this cruise is, do you know Tim Atwood? I'm sure you do. The piano
yeah,
player, he was for years at the Opry, works a lot with Jeannie
yeah,
Seeley. He does the piano bar every
yeah.
night, and it's so cool because people stop in, and like last year, Tracy Lawrence was in there till the wee hours singing Mark Chestnut songs. It's just such a
Wow.
great thing, and and then Tracy hits the casino with some friends he met from Louisiana, and it's
Of
such a
course.
great hang. It reminds me of the way fanfare used to be at the fairgrounds before they moved it downtown and it became CMA Music Fest, and now it's this huge thing. But anyway, so I mean, I'm hoping to see you at the piano bar late at night hanging out.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Um, I'll tell you, if I was on a cruise by myself, my favorite thing that I would be doing is figuring out where to snorkel or scuba dive any chance I can get. I'm such an outdoorsman. I love just witnessing God's creation, and there's something about having your head under the water and seeing fish and dolphins and sharks and colorful whatever, shells and all of that I have just loved. Every chance I get, I do that. And I've been able to do that some with my wife. with the little ones, now, the last cruise, my daughter was with us, and really anything that makes her happy is my favorite thing to do. When I get to see her just lose her mind, whether she's at the pool or we're out on the beach and she sees a fish, or she's making a sandcastle, or whatever it might be, whatever makes the kids happy is some of my favorite things to do. And then late at night, like you said, just kind of exploring the ship, running into some music. I've enjoyed seeing local music on cruises in different places. And then obviously, if there's any late night jams or anything like that, I'll probably show up with a guitar in my hand or just walk up and grab a mic, because I love sharing music any chance I can.
Oh, well, I can't wait to see you. Yeah, I love listening to you anytime, anywhere, but on a ship, that's going to be even better.
Yeah. Well, I
And
don't know. Some people might want to be getting away from me, and they just won't have the opportunity since we're locked up on the boat.
no, I can't imagine that. Well, Mo, before we wrap up, anything else you want to tell people about the new album, or anything else that you're looking forward to coming up?
Yeah. You can, get the album on mopitney.com. You can get signed versions. That we actually have vinyl record versions that are signed that you can get on mopitney.com. So if anyone's interested in that, I just always like letting you know that that's a possibility. Yeah, we've got that single out on radio. We're excited. We're hoping that it climbs the charts little by little, and you can call your radio stations and ask them to play it. I would certainly appreciate that. And I'm excited to see where it goes, but I'm also extremely content, and I look forward to hearing the way people respond to it.
I ain't the product of a trust fund. Far as money goes, I ain't got much, but I trade my time in the hot sun for enough to get me by. My pickup's old and rusty, she rattles and stays dusty, but when Emily's there beside me, it shines, shines, shines. We got a roof to keep the rain on, a mailbox to write her name on, a 10-acre lot with a little bird dog on the front porch, garden that screen door, baking in the pancakes on the griddle, hand in hand right down the middle. Life with a girl and a love that's a real McCoy, ain't bad for a good old boy. She's gracing holy blue jeans with a face made for the movies. Yeah, she beats all I ever dreamed every time she wakes me up. She's got a way of making something out of a whole lot of nothing. The honey in her loving is like money in my cup. We got a roof to keep the rain on, a mailbox to write her name on, a 10-acre lot with a little bird dog on the front porch, garden that screen door, baking in the pancakes on the griddle, hand in hand right down the middle.
Yeah, one of the things I appreciate most about it is it's such a personal album. There's so much of your heart and your experience in that. It just, I feel like in listening to it, fans are they're gonna feel like they know you even better than they did, which is cool. Not everybody achieves that.
Yeah, I'm glad you point that out. I noticed that all of my favorite albums growing up were always welded to honesty and truth. A true look into someone's heart and life causes a response. I have appreciated that about other albums, and I have been extremely moved when a singer identifies with a song deeply because he is singing about his life or his internal experience or whatever. And it causes the listener, like watching a great movie that's believable, to just buy into his story, even if it's not their own story. And so I wanted to make an album that was true, a representation of who I am and where I'm at in my life and what I have gone through, with the hopes that people and enjoy the music and give it a big thumbs up.
I know they will. I sure do. It's a wonderful album, and
Well, I
I'm sure.
appreciate that.
Oh, thanks. But I'm sure between now and then we'll probably run into each other in Nashville. But I am so looking forward to you being on the cruise. It's gonna, before you sign off, pan over and give us a look at that pretty house again.
Yeah.
Oh, that is great. Oh, I love that.
I
Mo, thanks
appreciate
so much for doing
it.
this.
Yeah,
And
me too.
congratulations on the
Sorry
new.
about the signal.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, that's one of the things about living in the woods. We moved out
Yeah.
of the country several years ago, and it took us forever to get good internet. So I can totally relate. But
They're acting like it'll be here in the next month or two, so we're looking forward to that.
oh, great, great. Well, congratulations on the new baby, the new album, the new home. 2020 is like everybody's complaining about it, but so far you've been doing pretty good. Ain't not bad for a good old boy, right?
Yeah, that's exactly how we feel. What some have meant for evil, God has intended for good for us. I know some people have struggled, and I hope that those of us who haven't struggled as bad can give help to those who are low in this time. But God is really taking care of us one step at a time.
Oh, honey, that's wonderful. Well, God bless you, and thanks again for doing this, Mo. It's always a
Yeah,
pleasure
God bless
talking with
you.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
You're welcome, honey. Bye-bye.